talk about a couple misconceptions about, sorry, my fucking voice cracking. I want to talk about a couple misconceptions when it comes to witchcraft that even other witches can hold. Because, I mean, there's, problems with people outside the thing making assumptions, and then, of course, with any fucking group, there's problems with people inside a thing gatekeeping and other stuff. So, one such problem is that some people have this belief that in order to perform witchcraft, or in order to, be a witch, that you have to have been born with it, like a gift, that you have to be born a seer, essentially, with, psychic powers and whatever the fuck. And whereas I absolutely do not deny that there are people who are born with spiritual gifts, you absolutely do not have to have been born with a spiritual gift, or part of some bloodline, or part of some fucking religion or spiritual practice, or, thing, to perform magic, learn magic, and over time reach gain those abilities that someone else may have naturally. And I've even seen there are people who are like, well, I can't do it because I was not born with it. I just, it's not something I have. I know people who do it, but I can't do it. I can't be like them. I think that's bullshit. I didn't used to be able to see spirits. Actually, that's not entirely true. When I was a kid, I could, but it went away and it was taken from me because they coked me up on a bunch of different medicines, because they thought it was, bad. They thought that, my natural abilities were bad. And so they're like, oh, well, you can't be doing that. So they put me on a bunch of medicines. So I did actually start out having some level of gifts that I then lost because I was told none of it exists, that it's all real, that it's all in your head, and it's all bad, and then I was told I was bad by extension. But when I grew up and started learning about the occult and the hidden world and the hidden knowledge of witchcraft and sorcery and wizardry and these other things, I started delving deep into it as much as I could. I started learning about angelology and demonology and the history of these different things, and I started to work with demons, and my path is different from other people's, or, everyone's got their own journey, right? But suffice to say, over time, with fierce dedication, meditation, and spiritual work, over time, I regained what I had lost. Because as a child, I had such a hyperactive mind's eye, or visual imagination, that my visual imagination was bleeding somewhat into reality. But this is seen as a bad thing in our modern world, but actually it's just a difference in perception. It can even be valuable. But I lost that, and I didn't just lose it bleeding into reality, I lost my mind's eye. It went fucking black because of trauma. And then when I got older, so I was essentially aphantasic, personally, for some time. When I got older and started reconnecting with my different DID headmates, but also started using angelology, demonology, and my witchcraft as a means of coping with my disabilities, including my DID, and expressing my disabilities as well. What happened was, when I reconnected with the child, teenage, whatever parts of myself, but also when I connected to the angel Sariel, who is the son of Samael, and I am a child of Samael, as well as spiritually married to Samael. When I connected to Sariel specifically, and at the same time was reconnecting to a younger part of my brain, I actually regained my mind's eye, and I regained the ability to perceive spirits as well. So not only did I regain my visual imagination, I regained, through practice and meditation as well, the ability to perceive spirits visually. For me, I perceive them here. This is where I started to perceive, well, first I perceived them on my skin, was the first thing. Then I was able to perceive them here, and now I can perceive them, here. I don't see them here. I don't have that gift. I know people who do, and I know that it can also be disabling. So it's a double-edged sword with that. But I can feel them here, here and on my skin, but I don't feel their touch. Their energy to me is not conveyed as touch. I know other people who literally, they do actually feel like spirits touching them. They've described it as painful and like burning, so it's probably a good thing I can't really feel that. But I can feel when the intention is there, and it used to be conveyed as colors. At this point, instead, I just can tell when something is around me or trying to like touch me, which I don't mind per se. It depends obviously on the spirit, but yeah, so like what I'm saying is that with any of these, you know, things that are seen as spiritual gifts, or people who are seen as spiritually gifted, witchcraft is a skill, and it is something you can teach yourself, that you can learn over time. I wanted to be where I'm at currently when I started doing like witchcraft like 4 years ago, and when I first was starting to get into it, I had this unrealistic inflated idea, and unfortunately I did fall into a couple cults, the last of which I managed to escape in 2023. But yeah, like that's not great, but there were problems, there was hurdles I met along the way, and now that I'm like 4 years into practicing and 2 years into labeling my practice, which I feel these are important distinctions, because I didn't label my practice until I felt that I was at least novice, and it took 2 years alone to feel confidently novice. And when I felt that I was at least like able to perform magic, that's when I started labeling myself. So it's been 2 years since I started down the left-hand path and became a sorcerer and chaos wizard, and also a demonologist, where those were the terms, and other things where I started openly labeling myself rather than just researching and other things and doing it in alone without telling anyone about it. And I also respect people who do not use labels or who do not tell people about it, because I understand there's a variety of reasons for that. And also, telling people about it kind of defeats the entire purpose of the occult, since the occult means hidden. And if you're fucking telling people about the things that are hidden, then it's no longer hidden, right? But it's like the hidden fucking gnosis, or the hidden knowledge. But also, for me, my demonology is a means of healing myself. And I think that probably one of the hardest parts for me about being someone who, at this point, I would say I see myself as an adept witch. I am by no means a master, and I think anyone who's like 4 years or below into their practice claiming to be a master is a fucking liar and a hypocrite, and who either wants your money or your attention or wants something from you. But I would say that I'm adept. I would say that I'm confident now in what my spiritual abilities are. I would also say that depending on my DID headmates, that my different DID headmates have different gifts, have different ways of perceiving the world, and that it works differently for each of us. Eli, the one making this video, I'm a combination of the head parts Max and Lewis, and I'm the most closely related to Max, so I have the power of both Max and Lewis combined as a head part. But I think that I wanted to talk about that specific misconception because it was just something on my mind, and because I think people have this weird idea about spiritual gifts, like it's just this unobtainable thing that you'll never be able to do. But spiritual power is the power of the mind, the body, perception, and learning to influence yourself so you can influence the world around you. I would say 70% at least of witchcraft is really mental control over yourself, and it's really, really important. And so I would say that I still have a lot of things there that I recognize I need to work on. And I think that a lot of people, they get into like stuff like the occult and other stuff, and they learn the first rule, or they learn like, not the first rule even, but there's no fucking first rule. But they learn that like, oh, okay, well, my perception can influence my reality, or okay, if I have faith, then things happen that seem miraculous. And then they never go beyond that. they're like, okay, well, it's all controlled by my perception. It's all control. Perception is reality. And if I just have faith and if I just have a positive mindset, and I think that shit's fucking bullshit. I think it's disingenuous. I think it's dishonest. I think it's partially true, but if you never advance beyond that, then you will not be able to spiritually protect yourself against like more powerful entities. You will not reach a level where you are actually able to perform in such a way that has a meaningful and significant impact on your life. And also, I think that people forget that like things like class privilege and white supremacy and racism and so many fucking other issues are deeply ingrained into the occult, and that there is an absolute problem with all of that stuff in the occult. Same with any fucking group, frankly, where you have a lot of people. But it is our personal responsibility to unpack that as occultists, and I've unfortunately noticed a lot of people fall short. And honestly, it's getting really easy for me now to tell when people are like talking bigger than they are. But also, I'm no fucking, I'm a fucking adept sorcerer at best. I do what I do to protect myself, to heal myself. I use the magic that I need to get by. And beyond that, I'm fucking depressed. I live in poverty. I have many disabilities, and I'm in many minorities right now that are being actively criminalized and hunted by like my fucking government. So it's like, and the people in the USA just not giving a shit about anything, turning all into like narcissistic sociopaths everywhere. So it's like, I'm not gonna like fucking miracle myself some money and then like suddenly be out of poverty. I can sometimes get myself a bit to make things easier on myself. I can use my magic to help me fucking survive in this capitalistic system, but I'm not able to like, the whole people are like, oh, you can just manifest your reality and manifest yourself out of your suffering and manifest yourself out of fucking 20-something years of me living as another man's slave. Sure, buddy. That's not fucking how that works. Like, it does not work and it's also fucking ableist. They always use it to be like, oh, you're not able to just miracle yourself to something better. And it's like, fuck you. I live in poverty. I have autism and DID. There's over 500 fucking laws actively criminalizing my demographics right now. And it's also like, there's a fucking transgenocide going on, but people want to ignore it and pretend it isn't happening while it's fucking happening. So I'm just trying to fucking survive, but I also feel like true spiritual power often does come from the bottom looking up, not the top looking down. And like with anything, people aren't going to see that